Bulls Nation, we have more power forwards to discuss about adding into this team. Last video we talked about Shimizu, and a lot of people were kind of negative towards getting that signing for the Chicago Bulls. So today we continue to push forward and pursue more players. Another player that's gotten a lot of talk in my comment sections of these YouTube videos is Harry Giles. Played for the Portland Trail Blazers last year, and we're going to be talking about him as a potential power forward option in this video. Let's do it. What's up, everybody? It's the Aidan Sports Show, and welcome back to another video. Today, we've got another Chicago Bulls related video, adding more discussions and more players into this team and what their benefits and, of course, their weaknesses will be. And today, we're going to be discussing Harry Giles, last played for the Portland Trail Blazers. Didn't have a terrific year, to say the least. And we're going to be talking about what he could be on this Chicago Bulls team in general. And that's something that's going to be very interesting in my eyes. I truly see him being someone that we could put in those discussions, but won't be many people's favorite choice. Before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Aidan Sports Show YouTube channel. Turn notifications on and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about Harry Giles, and what do you think he should be on this team if he was potentially to get selected, or I guess signed into this team, because he is an unrestricted free agent. First things first with Harry Giles. If you don't know much about this player, and many people might not know a lot about him, but of course, this guy has a very interesting story. He was projected to go the #1 pick at the time that he was meant to be drafted. He had a fantastic high school career, and then ever since then, injuries have derailed his career, and he still made it to the NBA for the first 2 seasons of his, I guess, NBA experience. He wasn't so bad compared to obviously Portland, and we'll discuss Portland later because I don't think he was bad there either. But unfortunately for him, he had a lot of injuries and a lot of surgeries that kind of stunted whatever progression or growth that he had on any team. And it started from college and it went all the way into, I guess, the NBA, which is a very sad sight to see. Obviously, the Chicago Bulls fans know just as much as anybody about how injuries can affect the team and how injuries can stunt a player's growth. I mean, we've seen that over the course of many years. Every single draft pick for the last recent years has gotten injured, a significant injury one way or another. Obviously, Derrick Rose is another player we can discuss, but of course, he's someone that is on another team now. So with Harry Giles, we'll be discussing a little bit of that and why that could potentially be a stunting block for him. The positives about Harry Giles, obviously, his first 2 years with the Sacramento Kings was not as bad as people may have seen. Obviously, this guy was touted, I believe he was the 20th overall pick, and he averaged around 7 points per game for the Sacramento Kings. This year, however, he averaged 2.8 points per game, 3.5 rebounds per game, 0.8 assists per game, shooting 43% from the field and 34% from the three-point line. I don't see this guy as a great three-point shooter, but again, there is potential there. He does take some mid-ranges, he does take some threes, and he can make it at times. But more often than not, Harry Giles will be, again, a very good rebounder, something he's always been known for. Putbacks, and of course, I guess, the defensive side of the ball. Harry Giles is 23 years old. He's an unrestricted free agent for the NBA this year, which means if he is probably the easiest option, I would say, we could go after compared to a lot of the other players that we supposedly want. Obviously, we have Shimizu, Troy Baxter. We talked about those 2 players. Those 2 should be fairly easy to get if the Bulls really want them. And of course, we'll be discussing more. We've discussed more about Vanderbilt, which is a pretty decent option, probably the main option that we were looking for. But obviously, it probably is a little bit harder to get compared to, I guess you could say, Harry Giles. With Harry Giles, obviously the injuries is a negative, and this past season has been a negative for him. Now, as I said before, he averaged 2.8 points per game, but with the Portland Trail Blazers, he got significantly less minutes. He averaged 9 minutes per game with playing 38 games this year. For the past 2 seasons with Sacramento, he had 58 games, 46 games, and his averages were around 14 minutes per game. So a lot more minutes, which means a lot more production for Harry Giles. And again, defensively, offensively, he's a little bit of a guy that you can rely on in many ways. But of course, he's not going to be what he was. He's not going to be a projected #1 pick anymore. He's not going to be a guy that's your star player. He's going to be a significant role player on your team at best if you give him the minutes to do so. With Harry Giles, the question is, obviously, would you want to bring him into the Chicago Bulls? And I am a little bit torn on this situation because Harry Giles has one of the, I guess, saddest stories of a player coming out of high school and college into the NBA. And that's someone I obviously want to take a chance on because, again, the potential was there before the NBA. Maybe the potential could be there after the NBA. And maybe those injury woes are behind him. He played 38 games out of a total 72 this year. And I don't know how many of them are due to injury because I don't watch Portland a whole lot. But Harry Giles is someone that I do see some potential in. So I would say, look, he's not my first option. I'll put it that way. I don't think Harry Giles would be my first option. I think he's the easiest option out of a lot of the ones we've talked about because he is an unrestricted free agent. He got a lot less minutes in Portland than what you would see on another team. And again, that showed with Portland and Sacramento, two different teams, two different minutes, and two obviously different players production-wise. So we can definitely see him on this team and give him some more minutes, something that he's probably not accustomed to with Portland. We could give him more minutes. We could see that six points per game player, 5 rebound per game player, maybe an assist, some solid defensive plays. That's something he can do. And if that's what the Chicago Bulls are looking for, then I think he could be a good addition to this team. But I've talked a lot about other players in my opinion. Troy Baxter, Simishitsu, Vanderbilt. I've even talked about DeMarcus Cousins. I feel like these players are a little bit ahead of the table compared to what you'd see from Harry Giles at this point in time. But at the age of 23, an opportunity and progression in his career could be something that he desperately needs to take that next step and to become a little bit better than those players. So if the Chicago Bulls actually see something in him and are not just bringing him for a 1-year rental and then off he goes to another team, then I would consider it. But obviously, it's not something that's my first and primary choice on the Chicago Bulls. I would still put Vanderbilt ahead of him. I think Troy Baxter could potentially have a higher ceiling at this point in time compared to Harry Giles. But at the end of the day, time will tell, and this is not someone I would walk away from straight away. Once again, we're in a position right now where there could be a lot of options that we don't pursue or a lot of options that don't choose us. We saw that with LaMarcus Aldridge, heavily considering the Chicago Bulls. A few hours later, signs with the Brooklyn Nets. We put our interest in Paul Millsap. A few days later, he signed with the Brooklyn Nets. These things can happen, so we should not ignore Harry Giles, but I have to admit he's not my first option. I do think he could be solid. I do think if we give him an opportunity, give him more minutes, and allow him to progress in his career, he could be something that would be useful for us. I think Billy Donovan as a coach could be much better for him than what his previous coaches have been. Again, I think Luke Walton was a previous coach for him, and of course you had Terry Scott, so I feel like Billy Donovan is better than both of those coaches. No offense to those coaches and those teams. So I think that he could get the best out of him. But overall, he's not my first option, and I'm not going to lie and say absolutely let's go for Harry Giles over the players that I have talked about. I will take him on the Chicago Bulls, but he's far from my first option. I do feel like we need to focus. Also, the last 2 seasons of his NBA career, he was not a power forward. Mostly he played center. He played center in the 2019-2020 season for the Sacramento Kings. He played center for the Portland Trailblazers. In his first year, he played power forward. I truly see him more as a power forward. I see him being better in that position. Again, this guy, he's 6'11", but he's also fairly, he's not the bulkiest guy you'll see out there. He's very, I guess, skinny. He has a little bit of a build that seems to be more agile, a little bit quicker. So the power forward position could work for him, but he hasn't played power forward in his last 2 years, and he's only had 3 years in the NBA. So I don't know. I would like to see him try it out in the power forward position. I think if you're discussing DeMarcus Cousins and Harry Giles, I think Harry Giles is much more suited at the power forward position compared to DeMarcus Cousins. But obviously, that's all I really have to say. He's just not my first option. And I don't mean to disrespect the player. And again, any player that joins the Chicago Bulls will have my trust from the beginning and will have that opportunity from me to see what it could be all about, because there are many players in this league that have been written off before and have shown how good of a player they can be. Carmelo is a perfect example of that. After that star player, his star-ridden NBA career, he had a few bad seasons and he got called off pretty much. Everybody quit on him and he ended up having a few years out of the NBA. He comes back and he shows just how good he is, being a role player, being a bench player, being a good scoring threat. So I see a similar thing, maybe not similar, but I see that there's opportunities there for players that have already been written off. And I think Harry Giles, for many people, has written him off. Many people like him as a potential player, but most people have written him off at the NBA level, and just see him as the guy that he is now, getting less game time and averaging 2 points per game. And that's not someone you obviously want on your team. But again, he's been written off before, and I would like to see him change that around, turn that around. And I would like that to be with the Chicago Bulls, but I would prefer other options before him. And that's all I really have to say. No disrespect to Harry Giles or anyone that wants him on this team. Again, I'm very open to different opinions. I do like the fact that a lot of people disagree with what I have to say at times. When I was talking about Simishitsu, a bulk of my comments said they didn't want Simishitsu and they didn't agree with me. And I enjoy that, because at the end of the day, everybody has a different mind, a different way of thinking, a different avenue of expressing their thoughts. And these are things that I really appreciate when it comes to comment sections of any video, and especially mine as well. So many people that do like Harry Giles, I would say why you like Harry Giles. Let me know why he's a good option for the Chicago Bulls. Defensively, rebounding wise, we know those are good things to there's a good traits. These are traits that we need. And again, system wise, I don't think he's a bad player for us. Why else would the Chicago Bulls consider Harry Giles, to say the least? I think he could be a very good option if he was one of the options, if other options were not available. But for me, at this point, with those options that could potentially be out there, the Chicago Bulls should be working on those ones first. And of course, if all else fails, Harry Giles is an unrestricted free agent that can basically go anywhere. If a good team offers him an opportunity, I think he deserves a chance to prove himself on the big stage. And let's see if he can do that, because I don't think Portland gave him much of a chance, to be honest. And we'll see what happens. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. Again, this is a little bit of a later video, and I apologize. I didn't expect to make a video today, but of course things happen. I felt in the mood, even though I am a bit sick. So maybe one day you might not get a video. Maybe one day you will. We'll see what happens down the line. But again, I did want to make this video. Keep those suggestions coming. I hear you. I see those players. I research those players, and I will make videos about them and what I feel could be potentially good things for them or not. Have a wonderful and safe day. Take care and peace.